Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so have you ever felt like you're just pouring hours and hours of intense work into a client's social media, but then when you actually sit down to show them the results, their eyes just completely glaze over? It's the worst, right? Well, today, we're unpacking a complete paradigm shift in how we deliver social media analytics. We're drawing all of this from an incredibly insightful presentation by Emmett Jamil, which literally maps out a rigorous method to completely transform your reporting process. We're going to shift away from just dumping data on a client's desk and figure out how to become an indispensable strategic consultant. Let's dive right in.
So here's a tough question. Are your automated reports actually hurting your business? I know, it's a tough pill to swallow. But simply handing over these massive auto-generated data dumps, it's a deeply ingrained habit for a lot of social media managers. You genuinely might think you're being super helpful by providing every possible number and graph, right? But then you hand them a 15-page PDF, they stare at it in total silence, and you can practically hear the crickets chirping in the room. We have absolutely all been there. By overwhelming your client with just raw numbers, you're entirely missing out on this huge opportunity to demonstrate your true strategic worth.
And honestly, the harsh, unavoidable reality is exactly what you're seeing here. Automated reports are terrible for clients. Why? Because they're generic. They don't connect to business goals, and they simply don't tell a story. When you just click export on a scheduling tool and hand over a generic PDF, you're really not showing the client why they hired you in the first place. You're essentially just giving them homework. You're forcing them to sit there and figure out what those numbers actually mean for their bottom line.
So, here is the exact playbook we'll be using to elevate your service. 1. Defining true client success. 2. Contextualizing your data. 3. Designing clear, concise reports. 4. Navigating poor performance. And 5. Platforms and proving value.
All right, let's jump right into step 1, defining true client success.
Before you even think about pulling a single metric or opening up an analytics dashboard, you have to determine what actual business outcomes matter to the person writing your checks. Reporting is a highly individualized thing. You absolutely cannot use the same cookie-cutter template for everyone. For example, if you have a wellness client, success isn't just getting a high engagement rate on some inspirational post. Success actually means filling their real-world workshops and retreats. Or think about a photographer. It's not about how many impressions a photo gallery gets, it's specifically about booking high-value wedding clients. And for a product-based business, it's all about driving tangible sales of a specific new collection. Your entire report has to be explicitly tied to these real-world goals. If it's not, those numbers are basically useless to them.
Moving right along to section 2, contextualizing your data.
Now this right here is the absolute core technique of this entire methodology. We are shifting away from isolated metrics and learning to speak the client-specific language. Let's look at a bad report. It simply says, profile visits increased by 42%. To a super busy business owner, that's just a vanity metric, right? It leaves them looking at you asking, okay, so what? But a good report, it says profile visits increased by 42%, and 2 of those visitors booked consultation calls. Notice the profound difference there. You're taking a raw mathematical number and instantly giving it tangible business context. You are telling a direct story that ends in potential profit for them.
Let's look at another one. Consider view counts. Bad reporting simply says your reels got 15,000 views this month. Again, completely out of context, that number means absolutely nothing to their bottom line. Good reporting, on the other hand, sounds more like this. This reel, showing your creative process, received 15,000 views, which is a 27% increase, exposing your unique approach to potential high-end clients. See what we did there? You're carefully explaining exactly what the data actually means for their business. You're reminding them that this specific exposure is hitting the exact demographic they want to capture. It's a total game changer.
Okay, on to section 3, designing clear, concise reports.
So we've talked a lot about what to say, but now we really need to shift our focus to the actual physical architecture of the report itself. You've got to remember that you are designing for ultimate clarity here. So here are the essential ingredients you absolutely need. First up, a single cover page with just 3 to 5 headline metrics. And remember, those need to tie directly back to those business goals we identified earlier. Next, include visual charts that show clear progress over time, not just isolated random monthly numbers. You also want to use color coding for quick glanceability, so your client instantly knows what's improving without having to squint at a spreadsheet. And please, keep the entire document to as few pages as possible to respect their precious time. Lastly, throw in actual visual screenshots of top-performing content right there in the document. A massive part of effective consulting is just intentionally reducing your client's cognitive load. Make it easy for them.
Now I know what you're thinking. What if your client is the type who absolutely insists on seeing every single detailed metric? Well, you can always just add an appendix with all the raw data tucked away at the very back. But your main presentation, it absolutely must lead with the insights, never just the raw numbers. Keep that front and center.
Which brings us to Section 4, Navigating Poor Performance.
Look, let's just be totally honest for a second. The numbers aren't going to point up and to the right every single month. It just doesn't happen. And how you handle those down months is the true test of a consultant. Let's say your client's engagement suddenly drops 18%. How do you keep their trust? Well, here is your protocol. Step 1, find the precise root cause. Don't just guess. Was it an algorithm change or maybe something else? Step 2, show industry-wise trends to provide some much-needed context. Let them know if everyone else in their sector is dealing with the exact same dip. And Step 3, outline your specific adaptation strategy. Tell them exactly how you're pivoting to fix it. You have to contextualize these challenges rather than just hiding from them. Maintaining total transparency, especially when things go wrong, is exactly what separates a disposable freelancer from a truly indispensable partner.
And finally, Section 5, Platforms and Proving Value.
All right, this is where we get into the specific tools and those critical final touches that really lock in true client loyalty. For your delivery toolkit, try structurally combining Canva for that super clean design, along with Google Analytics for the hard data. You want to maintain your report with highly distinct, logical sections. Think performance highlights, content analysis, and strategic recommendations for the upcoming month. But listen, here is the ultimate game changer. Record a quick, 5-minute video walkthrough explaining the key insights and your recommendations. Seriously, clients absolutely love this personal touch, and it practically guarantees your strategic thinking won't just get lost in some unread files sitting in their inbox.
So, when you put all of this together, you achieve this amazing ultimate transformation. Your reporting process essentially has to consistently prove 3 fundamental things to your client. You've got to prove that you are highly effective, that you're always actively concerned about their profits, and that your work connects at every single turn back to their specific business outcomes. When you constantly reinforce those 3 pillars, you will easily build a lasting roster of loyal, retained clients who basically view you as a vital asset to their team.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Are you ready to stop just reporting and start actually consulting? Handing over an automated spreadsheet is incredibly easy, but stepping up as a strategic partner who curates raw data into actionable, highly profitable stories, that is where the real growth happens for both you and the businesses you serve. Take this exact playbook into your very next client meeting and just watch the dynamic completely shift. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.